Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Now What podcast. My name is Glenn Sharp. I'm the president and CEO of Sharp Leadership Development. Happy New Year, everyone. As you can see, we have our New Year's garb in front of us. I wish you and yours a happy and healthy 2026. If you haven't seen the podcast before, it's based on the book Now What. This is a coaching journey between me and a character, Johnny. Johnny is an amazing mechanic in the airline industry, and because he was such a great mechanic, they made him manager of mechanics. Now what? So it's basically me coaching Johnny over a 4-month period to get him on a level playing field with his peers. And so it's chock full of ideas and concepts and all sorts of management principles to really help Johnny. And I think it will help you as well. It's a great way to really kick off the 2026 year. And hitting the ground running with your employees. And obviously, if you have someone new to the management ranks, it can certainly help them in that regard. So go ahead and pick up the book. It's on Amazon, it's on ebook, paperback, and soon it will be available on Audible. We're going to take a little bit of a different tact for 2026. I thought it'd be kind of cool to really pivot and start to get into real world applications. So I asked several clients if it was okay with them if I use some of their topics that we discuss in the coaching room. As you guys know, I have a ton of different clients and they all have different scenarios, and several of them have already given me the thumbs up, and we'll start with today's podcast. In episode 15, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the issues that occur in the real world, specifically with attitude. We'll go ahead and use some of the existing concepts that we've talked about in 2025 in episodes 1 through 14, and then I'm going to introduce you to a couple of new concepts to help you with the scenario. So let's get right to it. This is from Michael in Cincinnati. I'm going to leave out his last name to protect him, obviously, but Michael's a mid-level manager, and he emailed me this particular scenario, and I'm just going to go ahead and read it to you, and we'll attack it from there. So he's got an employee, his name's Jack. He said, really, let's just call him Jack. That's not his real name. He wanted to hide it, but he's got great potential. He's smart. He does a really good job, but he tends to have a negative attitude, especially as it relates to upper management, which is interesting, right? Why upper management? All right, it's affecting the team, and there's the line, right? It's affecting the team, and he said, if I'm honest, it's affecting me too, Glenn. So, Michael, I understand, man. I've been there before. I totally get it. So, but let's go ahead and really talk about this. He basically, very humbly is asking me for some advice to motivate him. And I thought these words were kind of cool, and tap into that potential while still holding him accountable for his negative attitude, right? So I thought that was a great way to put it, Michael. So let's go ahead and get into it. Michael, I'm just going to treat you like I normally do in the coaching room, and really, for the benefit of the audience here, I'll just act like I normally do with you. The first concept here is the results cone. Your thinking drives your behavior drives your results. Michael, you got to change the way you think in regards to Michael. I'm going to throw you some tough love here. Most of this issue is on you. Right? Now, I don't know if I would say 90% of it, but most of it's on you. You've got to hold him accountable for his actions. I know it's tough, and I know, most people, including you, Michael, you don't like conflict. I get it, all right? But I want you to think differently about this. Think of it in this terms. Imagine if he says that kind of stuff in front of you, right? If he exhibits that kind of behavior in front of you, I wonder how he acts when he's comfortable. That's interesting, right? Because that's what I'm afraid of. I'm not worried about counseling Jack if I'm you, Michael. I'm worried about his effect on the team, right? And I'm protecting the family. And I want you to think of it differently, that that's your role as the manager of people. If you got to protect the work family, you got to protect those individuals. It's not their fault that he has an attitude and has a problem with upper management. And you've got to make sure that you address it with him. Right? And it's not going to go away. In fact, if you don't address it with them, an argument could be made, it's just going to get worse. Right? When's the last time someone was a bully or somebody had a bad attitude and you didn't address it and it just organically got better? It's rare, if ever, it happening. So you've got to address it. So change the way you think by protecting the family, then your behavior will be a little different. You'll go in there with a little more confidence, right? And then the results will be a lot better. So here are some tools to use. This particular concept that you see on the screen right now, it's called the accountability ladder. It's the most stolen of all my concepts. It's all over the internet, so I guess a lot of people steal it. But you see the two different parts here. On the bottom, you've got in red, you've got the nasty stuff, the wait and hope, make excuses, blame others. My favorite, let's just ignore the problem, it'll go away. Great idea. That's a great way to look at things. That's not a plan, by the way, right? But how many people do you know in your life who live down on the bottom of that accountability ladder? And it's kind of sad, isn't it? And to be honest with you, it's hard to be around. I know when I'm around people like that, it's exhausting being around them. And then there's the good stuff on the top, acknowledging reality, owning it, finding solutions, get on with it. You'll notice the structure of the ladder. You've got powerful versus powerless, and it's a mindset. And that's what this is, and that's why it's probably so popular. It's because it's such a mindset, and specifically a mindset of people who are successful. So Michael, as it relates to Jack, you've got to get him to acknowledge his behavior, acknowledge reality, that his attitude is terrible toward upper management and that it's affecting the team. He's got to own it. Otherwise, you don't move on. He's got to own it. And if he doesn't own it, obviously, there's counseling sessions that you can do with him. There's putting him on a PIP. There's obviously other areas. But let's just say, Jack does own it. And he says to you, yeah, I know. I don't know why I do that. And now you can obviously develop a plan with him. But he's got to make sure he understands that he is responsible for his behavior, and he's got to change his behavior. When you do coach him, when you do address it with him, you need to let him know that the only acceptable change that you will really look at in a positive light is behavior change. Don't tell me you're going to do something. I want to hear things. And I would even go as far, Michael, as to mandate that every single week you and him meet and he tells you what did he do differently? What did he do to change his behavior that week? Right? Again, place the onus off of you, Michael, and put it on to him. Put it on to Jack. He got himself into this. He can get himself out of it. The fact that he is so upset with upper management, probably there's a story behind it. Not to get too psychological, but typically when people have that much of an issue with upper management, there's jealousy involved, there's a little envy involved. And for a lot of individuals that I coach, they didn't earn that position. So I don't understand the envy, but sometimes it's a crutch, sometimes it's a guard for their own misgivings, their own inadequacies. All right, but I don't know what it's like with Jack, but I'm wondering if I'm touching a nerve with you, Michael. So you'll notice that the green line versus the red line, the proactive versus reactive graph showed up. And my advice to you, Michael, is to make sure before you do anything is you do all the work up front. And what does that mean? Get with your boss, get with HR, make sure these guys understand what you're about to do, get their blessing, have a conversation with the boss that maybe looks like this. Hey, listen, I'm going to talk to Jack here, and if he goes around me and comes to you, please send him directly back to me, right? Because I am his boss. I want to make sure that you know what I'm trying to do so that he doesn't have any wiggle room. He needs to change his behavior, right? So that might mean talking to some of his peers, talking to some of the people that he works with, just to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row and that you have all the information at hand when you address it with them. That's green line activity. All right, so remember the concept of the backstop. Having that conversation with your boss and HR, legal's up there as well. That certainly could be an option, right? If he decides to quit, or if he decides to, take some time off or things like that. What are your options in regards to that? But the concept of the backstop, that's the interesting concept here. Most of my clients ignore me when I say, talk to your boss first, do the work up front, that type of thing. And they go on to really regret it. Every single one of them who does this, who does the work up front, especially getting on the same page with their boss, is so glad that they did, right? So be one of the few successful people out there. Don't be like everyone else, Michael, who just tries to wing it or ignores it, things like that, because it's a recipe for failure. The other thing that you can do once you start to get the ball rolling with Jack and everything is let's get a plan together. If you notice, the employee planning worksheet has appeared over my shoulder. So this is a instrument that I use, in coaching, but I use it for every employee, to be honest with you, when I was a manager, to make sure we are on the same page in regards to what is expected of the year and what do they want and how are we going to approach it. It's a very informal document. I do put it in their file just to make sure that it is notated and that everyone knows kind of what's going on. My employee and I both sign it. And Michael, I would suggest that you do the same with Jack. Right? Have them fill it out. Now, what this would look like is you're going to have a conversation with him first and let him know once you guys have really talked about his attitude and there's acknowledgement that he needs to change. This would be part of the plan, okay? And a high-level plan for Jack. So you'll notice the different parts. I mean, this is basically me on a page, nice and simple. I don't like any more than 3 items in any section. I'm a huge believer in the rule of 3s. But if you notice on the top, it's got impact you want to have. One of my pieces of advice to you, Michael, is not only do you want him to change his behavior, you want Jack to embrace culture. You actually want him to take the forefront in regards to how do you get the culture to the next level. That would be a huge way to demonstrate not only to him, but to the people around him that he has changed, right? And that he is going to really embrace what you are asking him to do. So that could be one of many things that you want, but really it's like, what do you want to accomplish in 2026? And that's what I would have them write in that first section. The second section is the run the business stuff, so that's your priorities. I want to know what are Jack's priorities. Does he understand why it's so important to change his behavior? But what is he doing now? What are some of the things that he needs to place in the forefront rather than in the back burner like he has been? But for regular employees, that I'm not coaching on something specific, I want to know whether or not my priorities and their priorities align. Unbelievably important. You'll notice projects, long-term and 3-month, short-term projects. I want to make sure that he is constantly busy. I'm going to make sure that that attention that he seeks, and that's kind of what I think Jack is all about. But obviously I don't know him all that well, but I know people like him, and if he wants attention, I'll give him attention. I will not only put him in charge of certain culture initiatives, but I'm going to keep him busy with long-term and short-term projects. He'll never ask me, boss, what do you want me to do? Or I'm out of things to do. What's next? He's always being kept busy. And then learning edges is really a training development term. Imagine a circle that's kind of jaded a little bit and rough, and learning edges would be, through development, you're smoothing out the edges to develop your folks. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to accomplish the plan? It could be I coach him a little bit. I could have one of his peers coach him. I could have somebody in another department coach him who's having success in a certain area, who overcame a poor attitude regarding upper management. I could send him to a class or a seminar, things like that. There's lots of different options. I'm going to be putting options on there and obviously making sure that Jack and I are on the same page. Right? Remember from 2025, if I have a choice between either me coaching Jack or one of his peers coaching Jack, I always choose one of his peers every single time. And that's because he'll be much more informal with them. He's likely to be much more vulnerable with them. And when a peer says to you, hey man, what's with the attitude, dude? Especially in upper management, chill out, or you can't be acting that way. That's different than when your boss says that to you. And I think we all know that. So I always like to set them up with someone so it's apples to apples. It's not, boss, you don't understand, you don't do our job. Setting up with a peer, they understand exactly what they're going through. And that peer tells them, hey, listen, you got to change. That carries a lot of weight. Right? So it's a nice instrument to really make sure that you and the employee are on the same page. Michael, I encourage you, once you and Jack are are kind of set and have an understanding in regards to he has work to do, this will be a great instrument to really help him and have a plan together for 2026. I encourage you to use this with your other employees as well. I believe this is necessary for every single employee, right? But I think this would be cool for Jack as well. So I hope that helps you guys. Don't forget to pick up my book, Now What? Obviously, I mentioned earlier it's available on paperback and ebook and soon to be available on Audible. And I know a lot of you have requested that. I am definitely just about done working on that. It's a perfect way, the book, to get you and your employees off to a great start in 2026, so I encourage you to pick it up. Join us in episode 16 for our next coaching topic that we're going to tackle. Bill in Dayton has graciously given me permission to tackle one of his issues that he's going through right now, and that is change. How does he get his employees to embrace change? Every time a new initiative comes up, it's nothing but, attacking him, attacking the initiative, poking holes in it, making sure that they have every excuse in the book. And there's very specific ways to attack that. I know this is a huge issue for HR directors out there, how to get people to really embrace it, but I think most managers go through this. So we'll certainly tackle that. All right, so I look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. I wish you guys the very best in your management and leadership journey. Good luck to all, and I will see you in episode 16.